Welcome to our EDSC DL1 course for spring 2017. This is the homepage of our course. I'm going to walk you through our course Blackboard webpage so that way you have an idea of how the course is set up in Blackboard and how it will run each week. Okay, so the first tab is the homepage that we're on. The second tab is Tools. I'm just going to highlight a few tools that would be important for this class. The first one is announcements. This is probably the one where I'm going to use the most. And so far, you'll see you have one announcement. I try to post announcements about once a week, and besides posting them, I'll also email out them, to you so that you should be getting them in your George Mason email. So it's important that with your George Mason email that you're checking it a few times a week. If you have it forwarded, just make sure your mailbox is not full because if your George Mason mailbox is full, it won't be forwarded. It's just kind of a quirk of the George Mason email. Anyway, that's our first announcement, just welcoming you to the class. This next tab is the Meet the Instructor tab. It has some basic information about me. My email is the most important thing if you need to contact me. With my phone, I tell people my office phone will then direct you to my cell phone because I'm an outreach professor and I'm often going out to the school districts. So it's absolutely fine to call or text my cell phone. I just ask if you text my cell phone, you indicate who you are because sometimes people don't let me know who they are. So again, if you call that number, it will give you my cell phone number. My cell phone number is also on the syllabus. The other important thing to know here is this is just a short, like just 1 minute video to learn a little bit more about me. And there's an extra credit quiz in Module 2. It's not only on information about me, but making sure you've played around with the course. So it's about 50% questions, like I think 5 questions from this little video here, and then just 5 more questions to make sure you've been playing around and checking out the course site. Okay, so that's the Meet the Instructor tab. The next tab is the Syllabus and Expectations tab. Under this tab, you'll see a Word document that's Course Expectations. With Course Expectations, basically that's just an overview of what you can expect in this course. I won't obviously read the whole thing to you, but the most important thing here is it sets the kind of the tone and your expectation for how much work for the class. Okay, so here's the document. And in terms of workload and time commitment, just notice that it is a 3-credit course, so you'll have approximately 3 hours work a week for each credit hour. So you could have up to 9 hours a week. I just highlight that because sometimes with an online course, people think that the workload will be less or that it's at your own pace. But this course is set up on a week-by-week basis. So it's not work at your own pace. Well, it's work at your own pace throughout the week, but then by the 1 week deadline, you do have hard and fast deadlines. Okay, other things under this tab. Here is the syllabus in a Word format. So if you click on that, you'll get a Word document. This one, this version of the syllabus is embedded in Blackboard. So when you access it, I'm going to take the edit mode off for this one. It'll look like this, and you can tab through it with this table of contents. It'll jump to the different sections. Let's say I wanted to go all the way down to like grading scale. It'll take me there. The other way to do it is to use your arrows here, and it'll tell you it has 11 sections, and it will go through one by one. So you can use any version, either version of the syllabus. Just to walk you through the important things again, introduction is just, the basics. The most important thing is the course text. You do want to have the most recent version of the text because that's what the schedule of work is based on and the specific assignments are based on. These are just the outcomes planned for the class, and basically at the end of this class, my hope is that you understand the basic research methodologies in educational research, that you feel like you can identify them, that if you had to set up a study, you'd be able to put the basics in place to run one of these types of studies. And that basically, overall, you are an informed consumer of research. You're not just going to read a research article anymore and say, oh, that's great. You're going to read it critically, saying, how is this study set up? Um, were all the appropriate elements included? Was there enough participants? Was it designed suitable to the type of research that was, hoped to be accomplished at the end of the study? So I do really want you to be educational consumers that read with a critical eye. And the next section is just talking about the hardware and software you need for this class. And so hopefully if you're in here, you have this, but if not, if you're not sure, I would say to reach out to IT services, and there's a link here to do that. Nature of course delivery. This goes through how all your content for the class will be presented in weekly learning modules. And it talks about that there, and then you can click on the learning modules over here. So all the work, there's other ways to access it, like major activities and assignments, you can just click on there. But you can also just basically access all work for the course by clicking under that learning modules, because under each learning module it will take you to any assignment that needs to be completed for that week. And I will be posting modules on Monday, and then you'll have until the end of Sunday to complete them. And the other thing is, I always give everyone a grace day. So basically what that means is while work is due on Sunday night, if you don't get it to me until Monday night or submit it on Blackboard, that is fine, because I know emergencies come up and things happen. So if you don't submit it by Monday night, you're fine. Beyond that, I do take a small deduction because people do make a big effort to be on time, and to be fair to them, it's hard work to get in on time. And to be fair to them, I need to take a small deduction for lateness if you are late. I always tell people if you think you're going to be late, just email me so I'm aware of it. This is probably what most people are interested in. This is the schedule of our class. So you'll see there's one learning module each week. So on the left-hand side, you have the date, and that means when the learning module will be assigned. And then this is work in this far right column that'll be due on a specific day. I noticed on the first day of class, we had nothing due. So we have a learning module that started, Introduction to Research Methods in Special Education, but nothing was due. What's going to be due from Learning Module 1 will be due by next Monday, or basically Sunday night, Monday night with the grace period. I'll expect you to have read pages 2 through 17 in Chapter 1, and then posted in the introduction forum. So in the first week, we're starting out pretty slow. Not too bad in terms of workload. One thing that is assigned in week 1, but it's not due until week 2, is your city training module. So basically this is the training for working with human subjects that every researcher at a university goes through. And it does take 2 or 3 hours to complete online. And that's why I gave you a couple of weeks to complete it. I wouldn't forget about it though, because it can take quite a bit of time, and there's little quizzes embedded in the training. But notice that is due week 2, along with a number of other things like reading chapter 3. The library scavenger hunt might also take quite a bit of time, maybe a couple of hours. And then just a quick posting to your wiki, and that's just should take a few minutes. That's just generally indicating your research topic. So hopefully you get a handle on how this chart is working with the date, what learning module you'll be working on, and then the due dates, okay? So it takes you all the way up through May 8th in terms of the end of the class. Okay, the next thing we're going to take a look at is, this is just what the assessments will look like in this class. A lot of your points will come through your weekly work. So different assignments you'll have in your learning modules will each carry a small point value. So no more than 5 or 10 points per week, but after the whole scope of the course, you'll have 90 points worth of weekly points. So that's quite a bit of your final grade. These will come from completing different postings on your own personal or your group wiki page. It will also include giving feedback to your peers. There are oftentimes a weekly quiz on content. That is more for you and I to know how you're mastering material rather than for points. So you'll see those quizzes don't carry a point value. I don't want to penalize you for not understanding, different elements presented in course content. If you understand them, great. But if you don't, I don't want to penalize you, but I do want to know when people are struggling. So those quizzes are there. So I know where you are and you know where you are with content. The next thing you'll see is that human subjects training module. And again, that's pass fail. You can't pass the class without completing it. And you need to have at least 75% on those quizzes embedded in that module. Um, the overall city module takes 2 to 3 hours, and it has 7 components to it. It'll look like 9 when you start it, but it's 7. And you have to keep at least a 75% overall in that larger module to pass it. Okay, I encourage you to shoot for higher, but as long as you get a 75% overall, you'll pass and you'll be fine. The other two big things are the research application mini project. And during the scope of our class, unfortunately, there's not time to do a whole research study out there on your own or in a group. So what I ask you to do is use PowerPoint, and I give you a template, and I ask you to propose a possible research study that you would do. And when you get to that point in the class, you'll be able to knowledgeably talk about the different parts that you would include in your PowerPoint proposal. So you won't be, like, oh my gosh, what do I put in this? You'll have the template and we'll have covered the content in class so that you'll know what you need to put in there, and you'll understand each element. You can work as a group for the two big projects, this one and the final research paper. I allow you to work into groups of up to 4. I tell people to really think about it because at first people are like, oh, a group would be great. A group has definite benefits, but it also has challenges. In an online environment, probably about 99% of your collaboration would be online, through email, through Blackboard. So that can have its own set of challenges. So anybody is welcome to work independently in this class, but you are welcome to work on both the mini project and the research paper in a group, or one or the other. I have a lot of people choose to do the paper by themselves and then the mini project in a group. So you can do both, one or none. You can actually work individually on everything, and it's very accomplishable. It's just very much based on your work style. The last big part of the syllabus is your final research paper. And this is basically a literature review, but it's a focused literature review where I'm asking you to gather 8 to 10 intervention research studies. So while you might have done a literature review in the past where you could pick any kind of article you wanted, this is actually asking you to hone in on a topic of interest to yourself. And I usually recommend something pertinent to your classroom if you're teaching, or if you're not teaching, something you're just really interested in, such as like reading comprehension, math instruction, writing interventions. And you're going to look for studies, interventions, um, intervention studies, where the researchers are actually trying to see if specific interventions will work in a particular content area or in behavior to improve student skills. Okay, and we're going to be breaking this paper down part by part and working with it and um, building our way through it throughout the semester. So it's not going to come as a surprise in the end. We'll do it little by little. Okay, other smaller elements to think about in the syllabus. This is the grading scale. So this is what you'll get points for everything in the class. This gives you the percentage of your grade that encompasses, and then the final grading scale. And this grading scale is typical throughout the College of Education. Okay, other last things. Communication is really important in this class because it's entirely online. So we don't meet face to face. So you really need to be logging in, if not every day, every other day into this course and communicating through email and doing your postings on the Blackboard site. Again, this is just kind of reiterating your online participation. And these expectations are not novel to this class. They are for the whole College of Education, and they're pretty standard throughout the university. So if you have any questions about the honor code, disability services, please let me know.